Let's looking at our test, going over to learn from our mistakes. Look at CO44. When we see less than, we know it's the less than symbol. So what is less than 12? So we want to make sure that we put our variable is smaller than 12. So it takes, what is it? It is less than 12. If we flipped that around and we said 12 less than n, we're saying n is bigger than 12. So you always want to double check and make sure you're not writing it backwards, because I had several people do that. So it's always easiest when we're writing these inequality statements, if you start with your n, you write the symbol that goes with the words, and then you put the number in place. Right? It can be written backwards, but we have to flip the symbol then. 12 is greater than n is less than 12. So if you want to start with the number, you have to make sure you flip the symbol. Our next one is at least. If I can eat at least 48 wings, my family can eat at least, it means, let me make it so it's flat. It means I can eat 48 or more. So greater than or equal to 48. If I need a minimum of 33, I can actually score 33 or more. And the elevator can hold a limit of 2,500. So it can be 2,500 or it can be smaller. We cannot go over it. Any questions on our inequality statements? All right, CO45. Now we need to graph it. So remember, there are 3 parts to our graphing. The first one is we do our number line with our number. Then we do our circle. If it is equal to, I color in my circle. If it is less than, it is smaller than. Number 6, you need more than 18 points. So my number needs to be greater than 18. So I put my number on the number line. It is not equal to, so it's an open circle. My arrow goes to the right. N is greater than 10, so I have 10. My circle is open because it is not equal to. Greater than goes to the right. Maximum speed is 1,500. Maximum means it can be 1,500, but it can't go over. N can be smaller. So on my number line, I have 1,500. My circle is filled in because it can be 1,500, and I go to the left. Any questions on these ones? You're not paying attention, and I asked if you were going to sit there that you would pay attention. So go to the back, go to the side, go to one of the spots so you'll pay attention, okay? CO46. One-step inequalities. So remember our one steps from our last test. We had to do that one-step opposite operation, and then we're going to graph it the same way we did the last objective. So if I have -8, I want to add 8. So n is greater than or equal to 1 plus 8 is 9. So I put my 9. I'm going to fill in my circle because it's equal to, and it is greater than. The sum of a number and 11, so we've got the sum is adding, is at most 17. So it can be 17 or less. It can't go over. So if I'm adding 11, I need to subtract 11. So n is 17 minus 11 is 6. Inequality goes down. So I have 6. My circle is closed in, and it goes to the left. Now I have a positive 45 plus n is less than 61. Well, I want to get rid of that 45, so I'm left with just n. So I want to subtract out that 45 from both sides. So n is less than 61 minus 45 is 16. So I had a lot of people putting 61 on there. I don't know if we just got confused with, we had the 61 up here, but you had to subtract 45 from it. It is not equal to, so it just is an open circle. And plus 12, I want to subtract 12 from both sides. 7 minus 12. I had a lot of people who showed their work and they did this. Why is that wrong? Why is it not 12 minus 7 equals 5? Because it's 7 minus 12. We are big kids now. We go into those negative numbers. If we start at the 7 on the number line and we go to the left, we get to negative 5. So I had a lot of people who put positive 5. Unfortunately, that was not correct. It had to be negative 5. It is an open circle because it is not equal to, and we go to the right. So remember, pay attention. It matters the order that we do. Okay? 7 minus 12. Think about your number line. If we start at 7 and we're subtracting 12, we don't have to put the big number first because we do negative numbers. Any questions on this objective? All right. Now, our ordered pairs. When we look at number 13, I'm going to do my x first. So I come all the way out and I come to negative 4. And then I go up. My y is a 1. So it's negative 4, 1. For number 14, I do my x first. That is the 3. I come up and the y is a 5. Number 15 gave a lot of people problems. Remember, you always do the x first. So if I'm doing x first, I'm coming over to my 3. My y is a 0, so I don't go up at all. That is my number 15. I had a lot of people putting it up here. You got to do the x first. X has a 3, so you got to move over to that 3 on the x line. Number 16, I come over to my 6 for the x, and then I go down to negative 5. Any questions on this objective? All right, CO48. Finding the slope. Remember, the slope is rise over run. Rise is, are we going up? It's a positive. If we go down, it's a negative. The run is how many we go to the right. We always start at the left and read going to the right. So we hit this dot first. So I go up 2. It's positive because I went up. And then I go over 1. For this one, reading from left to right, I hit this point first. I go up 1, 2, 3. Since I was going up, it is a positive. And then I go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is a positive 3/4. When I get to my next point, my next graph, I read left to right. I come to this point, and now I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I'm going down, remember, going down means it's going to be a negative. Then I go over 1, 2, 3. I had a lot of friends forget. I would like you to listen so we can learn from mistakes. Remember, going down is negative. Lots of friends forgot that when we go down for our rise, it's a negative number. Same thing with this one. I come to this point first and I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I went down, it is a negative 5. I go over 1, it's negative 5 over 1. Any questions on this one? People understand the mistakes they made. So I had a lot of friends who forgot that negative. Liv? It's okay, you can ask.
I was just going to ask about if you were going to put grades in there.
Yep, in try 3. So you would have to switch over to look at the try 3 spots. But we're not doing it right now. Ruby,
I'm confused how I got this wrong.
let me see. Okay, look at mine. That rise, we go down. You read from right to left and you went up. This is why I said it's super important. We remember we always go from left to right, so we hit this point first. When you come the opposite direction, it looks like it's going to be up. Oh, actually, no, you did have the negative. You did the run over the rise.
Oh.
Our rise was -7 and you put it on the bottom. So you flipped it. You flipped your rise and run. So you did get your negatives. You just flipped the rise and run. Okay. Any other questions on this one? Okay. This function table. On our homework, we got to choose whatever x we wanted to put into the function table, and then we did the math and found our y. On the test, he gave us what our input is going to be, and we had to do our math to find our y. Claire? Is it an emergency? Do you need to go? And then let's focus. Okay. If you need to go, you need to go. Just let me know. Otherwise, I do want you paying attention. Okay. All right, function table. The first function table, we had y equals 2x. What math are we doing when there's a 2 next to the x? What math is that? Marina? Multiplying. It's 2 times whatever our x is. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. And 2 times 10 is 20. So we just had to do the math that was there. For number 22, now I have -9 plus 5. Some of us forgot how to work with our negative numbers. So -9, if I'm at -9 on the number line and I add 5 to it, I get up to -4. Now I have -3 on the number line. If I add 5 to it on that number line, I come to a +2. And if I'm at a 5 on the number line and I add 5 to it, I get 10. For number 23, we had 2 different operations we had to do. First, we had to do that multiplying. So we have -4 times -7. What is -4 times -7? Who knows? What's -4 times -7? Ruby. You jumped to the answer. The negative times a negative is a positive, and 4 times 7 is 28. And then Ruby is right. When we have 28, no, 4 times 7 is 28. Then we have to add 3 to it. 28 plus 3 gives me a 31. If I put a 0 in, -4 times 0 is 0. Plus 3 is 3. -4 times a +4 is a -16. -16 plus 3 is a -13. Is there anybody who would like me to actually write out how I got those numbers? We're doing okay? I saw some of us are like, oh, that's what I did wrong. I forgot to add the 3. Or I forgot my negative rules when multiplying. Our last one's working with the fraction. if I have 1/3 times 3 minus 4. So if I'm timesing it by 3, I put that 1 under it. So 1/3 times 3 over 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3 minus 4. What is 3 over 3? It is a 1. 1 minus 4 is -3. Then I have 1/3 times 9 minus 4. That's a 9 over 1. 1 times 9 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3 minus 4. 9 over 3 is a what? It's a 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I have 3 minus 4 is -1. Now I have 1/3 times 18 minus 4. That's 18 over 1. So that's 1 times 18. 3 times 1 minus 4. 18 over 3. 18 divided by 3 is a 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. Do you guys understand how we work with these fractions? There's a lot of us that got that wrong. All right, any questions on these ones? By far, the hardest one for people is working with that fraction. Do we understand how to work with the fraction now? Zelda, be respectful of others, please. All right, backside. This was probably one of the hardest objectives. Majority of us were able to figure out the top two, graphing. There were some of us that came up to me and said, I can't quite figure out the slope because I don't have a straight line. When we are graphing our function, it has to be a straight line. So if you graphed incorrectly, if you did yx instead of xy, okay, then you're going to have a dot that's not in the line. That's your first clue. It happened to me when I was making my answer sheet. My first clue that I did something wrong was I didn't have a straight line. So if you don't have a straight line, go back and double check how you plotted your points. So for 25, we have -6, -4. We have -3, -3. We have a +3, -1. And we have a 6, 0. So we should have our line like this. Can I just look at that line and say, oh, this dot, this is a point that's on my line? I can't just eyeball it and look at it because I might have drawn my line a little sloppy. So if I went on there and I drew my line really fast and I went like that, I might go, oh, well, I think this point is on the line, but it's not. You can't just eyeball it. You have to use your slope. So the slope for this, so this was number 25. Number 26 says what's a point on the line that's not listed. So I'm going to find that slope. I'm going to go up 1 over 3. So I have a slope of 1/3. So now I'm going to come to a dot that has a big gap in between my next point. And I'm going to go up 1 and over 3. And I'm going to say, oh, here's another point on my line that's not in my table. And that point, my x is a 0, and my y is a -2. Do you guys see how we got that? Okay. So let's look at our next one. I have 0, -4. I have 2, 0. I have 3, 2. And I have 4, 4. So I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to find my slope. I'm going to go up 2 over 1. So I went up 2, so it's positive, over 1. So this is my 27. 28 is what is a point that's in between two big gaps. So I could go up 2 over 1. Look at that. It doesn't look like it's on my line because it's over a little bit, but my line isn't all that straight. And that's okay. I know with my slope, that 1, -2 is actually on that line. There were some people who put a different point that still worked, as long as your point works. So for this one, I found 1, -2, and I found 0, -2. If you have a point that you don't understand why it didn't work, you can ask me. Amanda?
So, I thought that you marked that the slope was wrong because my ordered pair was 1 -1, but it was the ordered pair.
Yeah. So I wasn't checking for slopes on this. I was checking for your graph, and I was checking for the ordered pair. So if you got the slope right, you just didn't use it right on your line. Any other questions about this? All right, let's look at our review. So the first one, we are rounding to the nearest 10th. Remember, our 10th place is right next to that decimal. I have to look at the number that is following it to see, do I round up or do I stay the same? 5 or more, I round up. 4 or less, I stay the same. Well, that 4 is followed by an 8, and 8 is more, so I am going to round up. Now, when I add, what's the big rule when we add fractions? Zelda?
Common denominators?
Common denominators. I cannot say 6 plus 2 is 8. I have to have a common denominator. I looked and said, well, 2 can go into 6, so I'm going to keep my 5, 6 as it is, and I'm going to change my 1/2, and I want a 6 as my denominator. 2 times 3 equals 6, so 1 times 3 is 3, 6. So now I have 5, 6 plus 3, 6 gives me 8, 6. I can't leave it like that. Why not, Madison? What do I have to do to my fraction, Madison? Simplify. I can divide a 2 out of both of these. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. I had some people who left it improper, some people who turned it into a mixed number. Both are correct. The fraction has to be simplified. Yes?
So, the first answer I got was 8, 6.
Mhm.
And then I simplified it to 1 and 2 8. And then I divided that by 2, and then I got 1 and 1 4.
So the first answer you got was the 8, 6.
Yeah.
And what did you do to that?
I made it a mixed number.
So that would be 1 and 2 over what denominator?
8.
Oh, what? Look up here. What's our denominator?
Oh.
You got to keep that denominator the same. It shouldn't have been 2 8s. It should have been 2 6. Okay. Now, solving for that variable, doing our one-step operation. Shh. If I am subtracting 12, I need to add 12. So 19 plus 12 gives me a 31. And if I'm multiplying by 11, I need to divide by 11. So 55 divided by 11 gives me a 5. And we all knew that if David's parents had 3 sons, snap, crackle, what's the name of his third? It is David.
Yeah.
Any questions on any of these objectives? All right, we have some time to work on practice work. So I am going to collect tests. You are going to look at your summary sheet, open up to your practice works and mark off which practice works you need to do. So before I collect anything, you are going to look at what retakes you are going to do. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well and hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.